Hey guys, what's up? Wesley Littlefield here, and I'm going to start a series today on duck hunting 101, how to get into duck hunting, how to start duck hunting. And this first video, I'm just going to run you through the gear that you absolutely have to have. Not all the fancy gear that everybody who's been doing it a while has, but just the gear that you absolutely have to have. So let's check it out. Alright, so the gear that you absolutely have to have. You've got to have all of your licenses and all that stuff, so check your local regulations for that. You've got to have a shotgun, obviously. You don't have to have waders, but it depends on what you're hunting. You're going to have waders. And you're going to need shells. That goes with shotgun. But other than that, I mean, that's really what you personally need to fit you. I think that so many guys get scared or intimidated, that's the word I was looking for, intimidated on all the gear that they see all their buddies have. But if you're just wanting to get into it, find a buddy who's already got all the gear. I mean, I take people all the time because I've got the decoys, I've got blinds, got duck blind or dog blinds, and so I can, you know, take other people out and introduce them to the sport. So that's kind of what I recommend, is go find somebody who's already got all the gear, and you don't have to spend that money to figure out if you like it or not. You don't have to have all that big fancy stuff, you know, and all the expensive gear that everybody has just to go try it out. If you're a little bit more into it and you figured out that you do want to pursue this a little further, I would suggest purchasing a shotgun, obviously, if you had to borrow one for your first time out. And everybody, or not everybody, but most people are going to probably tell you to go with an auto loader. And that's what I shoot now. But honestly, it's hard to beat a pump shotgun. They're so dependable. Everybody, or people will tell you that you can't shoot as fast. I've got a couple buddies that can shoot just as fast as anybody on an auto loader. They can shoot with their pumps. So don't let that intimidate you. Go start with a pump shotgun. Next, you're gonna want a good pair of waders. You can get the neoprene. I've hunted in them for years, but these last several seasons I've been hunting in breathable waders, and holy cow, they're lighter and you can move a little bit better in them. I like breathables a lot better. That's just my personal opinion. So if that's something you want to check out breathable waders. And then of course, you're still gonna need your decoys, and I have never bought the top of the line decoys. Number one, I think that if you get close enough to looking like a duck, you're gonna be able to trick the ducks. It's not the most important thing, because I've heard of guys going out and painting pop bottles and killing birds over them. I'm not saying that they killed a ton, but I've heard stories about that. And so find what decoy fits your budget, whether you're hunting in fields and you can't spend, you know, $10,000 on a spread, which not many of us can. And, you know, go find the decoys that are in your budget. And if you're hunting smaller waters like me, or even I hunt fairly large lakes, but I don't have to have 10 dozen decoys. My philosophy is to keep it a little bit smaller. We hunt anywhere from 2 to 4 dozen, and there's times when I think we're putting out way too many decoys, and we could cut back to even just 1 dozen. And once again, I've heard stories of guys taking out 6 decoys, throwing out and limiting out and being done. You know, it's all about location. And so if you can find the location they want to be, you really don't need that many decoys. But they're gear, they're fun. I'm a gear guy, I get it. As you can see, I collect decoys too. So I'm not going to tell you don't go buy decoys, because it's fun, I know. The next thing you're going to need, and this is probably my biggest, I don't want to call it pet peeve, but it kind of is pet peeve, is concealment. We hunted yesterday, and we actually had a great hunt just because the birds all came in when it was still too dark for them to really pick us out and pick us apart. but it was just light enough. It was legal shooting light, I want to clarify that, but it was just light enough to where we could still see them and shoot and kill them. So concealment, there's all kinds of different brands who make blinds and stuff. I'm not going to tell you which to go buy, but I have found that most blinds are going to get the job done. It's how you use that blind is really what it comes down to. I've found my favorite, and my favorite is a hardcore run and gun blind, and the reason is because I'm cheap, number one, and it's not a very expensive blind. Number two, it doubles as a decoy bag, so when I'm out hunting or whatever, I don't have to carry 14 different bags for this stuff. I carry one bag out with my decoys in it, and then one backpack with all my other filming stuff and shells and everything that I need, and then I've got my blind essentially with that decoy bag. So that's why I like that bag. But like I said, whatever you want to go do, get what you think's best. But the important part is how you brush that in. You know, we've tried bringing grasses in from other places, and we hunt different places, even though they might be two farm ponds on, they could essentially be even on the same property. You're going to need different grasses to brush those in. But I'll make another video on just concealment and dive deeper into that, and I'll put a link to the rest of these videos, of course, at the very end of this, so be sure to check that out. The next thing you're going to need is a good backpack or another good decoy bag. You know, if you don't want to carry the run and gun blind, or you don't need a layout blind for hunting like in a marsh or on the lake or something. So you're gonna need a good bag, two good bags, a decoy bag and a backpack. I have tried all kinds of different backpacks. I like the really waterproof ones. Banded made one. I don't know if they still do. Mine's really old that I really liked. It was just one giant pocket is what I didn't like, so everything was piled in together. I'm using a Rig'em Right backpack right now that only the bottom 2 inches of it is waterproof, but I can hang it in a tree or whatever if I'm doing that. So you know, go find you a good solid backpack, and of course a decoy bag. I tend to buy the cheap ones because they all end up ripping or getting ripped or whatever. I'm short, so my biggest problem is finding the ones that don't hit me in the back of the legs and trip me and make me fall. That's my biggest problem with them. But other than that, I mean, go find what works for you. Another thing is that I didn't mention with concealment, but I should have, is dog blinds. I've got 2 different dog blinds that, once again, if you're new starting out, I know this gear scares you, but one is for field hunting and one is for water hunting, essentially, if it's in a marsh or at the lake or whatever. Because one lays down on the ground, it's real low profiled, and I can hide my dog really well in it. And then the other one sits up out of the water, and I can adjust the height if I need to on that, and so he's not setting in water the whole time, and I really like that too. So dog blinds, I said decoys, I mean mojos if you want to go. I forgot to mention mojos with decoys and stuff. I mean, the list, you can just get overwhelmed with all the gear that a duck hunter needs, but stick to the basics when you're especially when you're starting out. My biggest thing is to go find somebody who already has all this gear, and you just tag along for a hunt and just soak it all in and learn from them, see what they do right. If you think, well, that doesn't seem real right, then, you know, you try something else when you go out by yourself, or when you find somebody else, you know, next time pitch up and say, hey, would this work, or whatever. So be sure to go check all that, you know, do it that way when you go out with somebody. And when you're ready to get into it, that's when you can spend the bukus of money and just go overboard, when you know that you really want to invest into this sport. I obviously want to invest in this sport because I absolutely love it. But I hope this video helped you guys a little bit to get started. Don't dive into it just head first. Dip your toe in the water and slowly work your way in, because this didn't just happen overnight with my trailer full of decoys and stuff. It's been a slow process of building it up, and That's what it needs to be for you. I'm not gonna go tell you to spend a bunch of money, because I don't spend all that much money on it. But thank you guys for watching. Check out the next video in this series.